I frequently feel close to my mother, particularly when I'm out in the garden. I really sort of think that she's with me, and I'll often even talk to her and sort of say, what should I be doing here? There's different things happen in my life. I sort of think, I wish Mum was here to tell her about that. That's something that I'm proud of that I've done, or something that my children have achieved. I just often wish that she was still here with us to share those memories with her. My mother went into aged care in December 2013 and she died in October 2016, 1 week short of her 90th birthday. Because we thought that this was sort of the gold standard aged care, we thought, well, that'll be fine, she'll be really happy there. But that was just not the case. It was just devastating to us to sort of see how she was sort of looked after. If I went in and there was anything wrong, I could never find a staff member. And the number of times that I visited her and she was sitting in a sopping wet chair and wet clothes, and she'd say, I've been trying to sort of call out to people walking past and no one's coming in. She was a very loving mum, and I guess for her, when she married Harold, who had 5 children, that was difficult with 8 kids in the family, but she always treated us equally, and there was always a casserole on the stove for not only the whole family but any friends that may also be there to have dinner. Mum was always very active. She was a world traveller. She did have a very adventurous spirit, as well as doing a lot of community work. She just always had that mantra of getting out there and supporting other people who were less fortunate than she was. As one staff member mentioned to me, the reason why she enjoyed chatting to Mum, because at the end of the day she had all her marbles and could carry on a good conversation, but she also found her life very interesting talking about that. And after a while, that particular staff member was told that she didn't have time to sit around and chat to my mother, and that was quite upsetting for my mother because she'd really enjoyed those chats. It's not about just getting into the dining room 3 times a day to eat their meals and things. It should be more than that, and they deserve more than that. I can remember going to visit my mother one afternoon and she sort of said, look, when I sit down it really hurts and I don't know why. So I eventually found a staff nurse and sort of said, look, can you please investigate what's going on? And this went on for 6 weeks. And in the end, she just sort of said, look, it's really, really hurting me. And she was almost in tears telling me about it. So I called her local GP and she came and visited my mother and discovered that she had a bed sore the size of a 50-cent piece. I think through the lack of staff, that is probably why these sort of situations arise. And this is why I'm very adamant that there should be mandated, by the government, mandated staff ratios. My mother sort of, particularly when she was in the high care, sort of lost her interest in everything. She didn't want to read a book and she'd been an avid reader. She was not her happy-go-lucky self. She was ready to move on. She wanted out of there. She'd had enough and her life just wasn't worth living anymore. At the end of the day, you know, she'd given so much to the community, and for her to be treated like this in her last twilight years, I just didn't want to see her suffering any longer. That was the hard thing. It was the suffering that made it really difficult. And I know old age is not going to be easy for me, but I hope I don't have to suffer in the same way that she did.